So why is drinking and driving bad, and what can we do to avoid it? We all like to have fun. We all like to go out with our friends and family and have a good time. And sometimes alcohol is involved in that. And while it may be fun at the moment, if not done responsibly, the consequences could be disastrous. We've all heard the horror stories of someone who's overindulged and have had life-threatening results. Most people, myself included, don't expect it to happen to us, but it can. My name is Sarah Mustaine, and I've personally been affected by drinking and driving. My father was an alcoholic, and it was eventually the cause of his death. As a child, I was witness to the effects of drinking and driving and how it takes a toll on everyone involved. So today I'm going to talk about why we shouldn't drink and drive and ways that we can take to reduce the numbers of casualties associated with drinking. So what's the big deal? According to the National Highway Safety Traffic Administration, 28 people in the United States die every single day in drunk driving crashes. That's more than one an hour. Why? Because it's completely preventable. Not only does drinking and driving affect the person or people doing it, it affects everyone on the road and everyone in their lives who would suffer from a negative outcome. Just last week, a friend of mine lost 2 coworkers in a drunk driving accident in the middle of the day. They weren't the ones drinking, but someone who had hit them head on, leaving their children parentless. This didn't have to happen. This was an intentional choice made by someone, and it resulted in the loss of life. There are so many other choices that person could have made that day, so let's see what those are. In a perfect world, the solution would be just to not drink at all. But taking away someone's free will to indulge in legal inebriation isn't very nice. But there are other ways to guarantee that auto crashes aren't caused by drinking. First, call an Uber. Most towns have ride-sharing programs, and most people have smartphones to summon these pay-per-ride services. In 2020, Ridester.com writer Brett Helling said that the average cost of an Uber is about $2 per mile. So the cost of a $10 cab is way less than the cost of replacing a vehicle, possible legal fees, or the cost of life. If you don't have ride sharing where you live, call a friend. I know I would personally annoy a friend at 2 a.m. To come get me than to put someone's life in danger. And if you're regularly drinking with a group, designate a different person each time you guys go out to be the designated driver. That way it's not the same person every time, so nobody feels left out. And if nobody in your group is capable of not drinking, it may be time to reevaluate your circle. My cousins and I had a bachelorette party where everyone planned on bar hopping, and we decided that we would take an Uber to the bar so that we had no other choice but to get a ride home as well. Everyone made it safe, and we all have wonderful memories of that night that we can laugh about now. There's never a time where drinking and driving is the only option. Let me give you a personal example of what happens when you decide to drink and drive. Try to imagine that you're 10 years old. Your dad has a sweet tooth for some ice cream, his favorite dessert. And dad never takes you anywhere because he's always working. So when he says, "Hey, let's go to Brahms," you are over the moon excited. That excitement doesn't last very long because less than half a mile down the road, your dad starts to fall asleep. You don't know how to drive yet, but you also know that you probably shouldn't be sleeping and driving into oncoming traffic. So you try and wake your dad up by clapping, and that works a couple of times, but he's still not staying awake. And at the red light, he falls asleep again. You turn his radio up, and it's his favorite music, Bob Seger. And this is working a little better, so you sing along. And at 10 years old, really all you can hope for is that you make it home safely. You guys hit a couple curbs, you get your ice cream, and you pray that that's the worst of it. Until Dad falls asleep one final time, and your car runs headfirst into a telephone pole. The car was totaled, the telephone pole has to be replaced, and your dad has to pay for it. We're lucky to have escaped unharmed, but that's not always the case. We could have just stayed home or sent my mom for the ice cream. Instead, this is one of the many memories that I have of my dad drinking and driving, and at 32 years old, I wish that wasn't some of the only memories I have of my dad. In conclusion, we can all do better to prevent the outcomes of drinking and driving. There is always another option, like ride sharing, calling a friend, or designating somebody in the group to stay sober. If you notice someone about to drink or drive after drinking, offer them a ride and don't take no for an answer. The rest of us will thank you for preventing something that can't be taken back. Because if you're drinking and driving, and something bad will happen, and it's not a matter of if, but when.